And good evening and welcome to another edition of Sports Corner. My name is Ralph Williams, and along with my co-host Smokin Jimfrazier by phone. Tonight we have a very great show for you tonight. We have Marty Leap coming on shortly here. He's in the waiting room here, and he'll be on shortly to talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates, what's going on with Brian Reynolds, and more. Next, 9 o'clock, we have Jerry DiPaola once again coming on from the Trib live, and he's going to talk about Pitt football and this transfer portal and all this other stuff to us. We have Steelers to talk about. We have high school football to talk about. Smokin Jim and I are going to break all this down tonight right here on Sports Corner, one of the best, greatest sports podcasts on all of the platforms. And the platforms we're on are YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and now Twitter. Smokin Jim, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Ralph. How about you, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing real good. Another Tuesday night and another great show we have set up for tonight. First, we're going to get started with our guest, who I'm bringing up now from the waiting room, is Marty Leap. Marty from Run Bunter. Welcome to the show once again, Marty. You come on a lot to talk about the Pirates here. My question to you first and foremost is, I have this one question before we get started about Brian Reynolds. Is Ben Cherington a liar or not? Because a few weeks back, he said he wasn't signing free agents to one-year deals. He was going to do 2 or more year deals. And then all of a sudden they signed free agents and they're at one-year deals. What's going on with this?
Yeah, it's weird, especially with the pitching staff. They had Vince Velasquez, who they announced today is going to be in the starting rotation. I mean, not that that's overly exciting or anything, but to a one-year deal. Now, Jarlin Garcia, the left-handed reliever they added, who is a pretty good pitcher, is on a 2-year deal because there's a club option for 2024. But, I mean, you look at Carlos Santana, added him in free agency, 1-year deal. I have no doubts Ben Cherington went into the offseason wanting to add, especially starting pitchers, on multiple-year deals. And then, as to be the case, once the money started to fly around, the Pirates were not going to be in on any of these multi-year deals, and I do think that's more of what happened than anything else.
I see. What's the word with Brian Reynolds right now?
The Pirates continue to say they still have no intentions of moving him. They're just going to do business as usual this offseason. I personally, rather that's before the start of the season, it's in season, it's next offseason, I have a hard time seeing him not moved at this point. They went to him with multiple long-term contract extensions. The two sides were not able to agree to anything. And he's still got 3 years left on his deal. That's a big thing to me. It's not like this is a guy going into his walk year or only has 2 years of control left. When you have 3 full years, if a player doesn't want to be there, keeping them around, not moving them definitely can cause problems, especially when it's the best player on your team. I think he'll eventually be moved. Now, I won't be surprised if he's still on the team come opening day. I won't be surprised by that at all. Right. I do think at some point within the next calendar year or so, you probably see him moved. I will say, I think, there's been some reports that are looking for a Soto-like package for him. I don't think they're going to get that much. No knock on Brian Reynolds because he is a tremendous player, but he's not the player Juan Soto is. Few people are. But I do think Reynolds can net a very strong return. It's just where it gets frustrating. It seems like so many times with this latest rebuild since Ben Cherington took over, it's been 1 step forward and 3 steps back. And moving Reynolds definitely falls into that category. I mean, he's a guy you control for 3 years, definitely a guy you could be able to build around moving forward. And I mean, you look at this offseason, it started strong. The Carlos Santana addition is a good one. He's going to provide you really good veteran presence in the clubhouse, really good defensive first baseman, still it's left-handed pitching well. G-Man Choi, probably going to be your primary designated hitter. The guy can just flat out hit. So there's your 1 step forward, and then all of a sudden you have your best player requesting a trade. So there's your 3 steps back, and that's just too often seems to be the trend with this organization.
Smokin Jimfrazier and I here, we have what's called curses. Is the Sid Bream curse hitting this team? Because it seems like that's it with the Pirates.
Yeah, I mean, we were even talking about this in our Run Bunter group chat. The rest of the Raiders and I were the other day. It's like, all right, I mean, they got the number 1 pick in the draft through the draft lottery, which, I mean, obviously that takes a little bit of good luck. I mean, the worse records you have, the better chance you have of it. But still, the Pirates didn't have the highest odds in the number 1 overall pick. So they get the number 1 overall pick. Something somewhat positive finally happens. And yet here we are. It's like the baseball gods had to strike you down with something else to offset that. So, yeah, you never know. But like I said, it seems like it's constantly 1 step forward and 3 steps back. And where with Reynolds requesting a trade, we're into the 3 steps back section again.
I see. What's your thoughts on the current free agents that they have signed? I know the first baseman Choi. I had Leo Haggerty on here last week from Tampa. He told me that Choi was a great player for Tampa Bay. He did a lot for him, and he said you guys really have a good first baseman there and a good player. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I like the Choi addition a lot. I mean, I think he's a player. He's going to walk a lot, get on base a lot. He's definitely a guy that maybe some of your traditional stats outside of on base percentage aren't going to love. But when you look into a lot of the advanced metrics for hitting, that sort of thing, he rates out as being a well above league average hitter. Like I said, I think he's probably your primary designated hitter when the season starts with the addition of Carlos Santana. Santana is still a very good defensive first baseman, so I'm willing to guess we'll see a lot of Santana at first base. Another addition I like, not just for the glove, but like the positive veteran leadership in the clubhouse, which is something this team doesn't have a lot of, obviously. And he still hits left-handed pitching pretty well. I like the Jarlin Garcia addition in the bullpen. Really solid numbers the last 3 years as lefty out of the pen. Vince Velasquez, if they were going to use him as a reliever, I'd look at it a lot differently. I think he could be very solid as that kind of swing man, multi-inning guy, do a little bit of everything out of the bullpen. But as a starting pitcher, as Ben Cherington said today, he will be. Kind of changes that. I mean, there's still work to be done. I think with what they've added, this roster is better and more talented now than it was opening day last year. I have no doubts about that. But you were a 100 loss team, so obviously you have a lot of ways to go. I mean, catcher's still a huge question mark. They need another outfielder. The starting rotation needs somebody. The bullpen might be the worst in the National League right now. So while they have gotten better, without a doubt, they have gotten better this offseason,
Wow.
There is still a lot of work to be done.
We have some comments here in the comment section. Listen, the issue with the Pirates is their cheap ownership. They have money. They just refuse to spend it. But, of course, they shell out millions for PNC Park, but players to them and the other small market teams, as long as the owner makes money, the team can suck.
Yeah, and I mean, I think
anyway,
that's definitely an issue.
Yeah, it definitely is. The catcher, this catching stuff going on. I understand they brought Heinlein back, Tyler Heinlein. What's the word on him?
Yeah, Tyler Heineman's back. I mean, not a shocker. It's on a minor league deal. I mean, right now, the only catcher on your 40-man roster is Andy Rodriguez, who they've already said will not head north with the team out of spring training. Quite honestly, he probably shouldn't. The kid's only got like 10 games above the AA level under his belt and is still, I believe, only 21 years old. So, you don't want to be rushing that guy, especially in a season like 2023 where you're not going to be looking to contend anyway. I still think they're going to add at least one veteran to a free agent deal, potentially 2. I thought a Roberto Perez reunion was going to be in the works. From my understanding, from what I was told from talking to some people in the industry, he went out to San Diego to winter meetings to get a physical done in the Pirates. The physical didn't totally live up to what the Pirates were hoping for. And obviously, the Roberto Perez injury is always a major concern there. Tucker Barnhart, the former Red, 2-time Gold Glove Award winner, another catcher they've been connected with. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see Barnhart signed. I think there's probably a good shot Heineman's your backup catcher to start the year now that he's back. But there's just not a lot of catching depth in this organization right now outside of the young guys. And like I said, you're not, as much as fans, myself included, would like to see it, you're not going to take your 2 highly touted catching prospects, one of which has never played above AA, one of which has like 10 games above AA, and throw them to the fire to start the season, especially a position like catcher where your ability to call the game, handle the pitching staff, know when those pitchers need that mound visit, control running game, just there's so much more that
Mhm.
goes into catching other than squatting back there, catching the ball, and going to the plate once every 3 innings. So I think with me, that's part of the equation too. Because a catcher, it's so much harder to bring these kids up early because there's so much more to the game than there is at pretty much every other position on the diamond.
What's so you say we're may not? Is that what's going on?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I said you said Roberto Perez is coming back.
That's what I expected most of the offseason. I mean, I don't think this was ever
Uh-huh.
reported by anybody, but from talking to somebody I know who works in a front office, I was led to believe that Perez went out to San Diego, got a physical done during the winter meetings, and the physical didn't really check out the way the Pirates had hoped. So, I mean, I still wouldn't rule out a Roberto Perez reunion. I just wonder if they want to see him play winter ball first or try and bring it back on a lesser deal than what they had discussed. I mean, what Perez is going to bring to you defensively with handling the pitching staff, it's second to none. It really is. But as we saw last year, the injury bug has always bit him throughout his career, and you just have to worry if that's going to
Right.
rear its ugly head again.
My next question to you is: you said the bullpen was the worst in the league, which we saw it was. That was supposed to be our strength last year. Are they really going to work hard to try to get some of this bullpen fixed up? And then we also mentioned we need some veteran pitching. I know they signed a few here and there. Are we going to? I guess we're going back into with Mitch Keller and some of these other guys. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll start with the starting rotation. I mean, I think your starting rotation, you have a pretty solid foundation of Mitch Keller, Ronzi Contreras, and Johan Oviedo. Um, I mean, Keller last year really did
Uh-huh.
turn a corner. Seems like he's finally put all together. Contreras, you need to see another step from, but he's got the stuff to be a top of the rotation guy. And you look at Oviedo, I know it was only 7 starts, but he was really, really good in September. I think you've got a nice little foundation there. The issue then is the depth pieces. I mean, JT Brubaker, Bryce Wilson, Zach Thompson, Vince Velasquez, those guys are what they are. Now, I will say that AAA starting rotation begin the year with Quinn Priesters, Mike Burrows, and Luis Ortiz. Depending on which prospect publication you're going off of, that's 3 top 100 prospects. There's a lot of talent in that AAA starting rotation. Does it mean the guys are going to put it all together? No. Does it mean they're going to stay healthy? No. But there's reason to at least be hopeful that the starting
Right.
rotation with what's currently there could be pretty solid by the middle of the summer. I mean, we saw Ortiz last year in September come up and look really good outside of one bad inning. Now for the bullpen, I think it seems they're really going to bank on getting some guys back from injury, a Yuri De Los Santos, a Colin Holderman, bank on a Robert Stevenson who pitched well for them last year in September, having turned a corner. I don't know. That bullpen outside of David Bednar when he's healthy, and now Jarlin Garcia, they've added him. There's not a lot of proven commodities there. And even Bednar, I mean, for as well as he's pitched, he's still only got 2 full major league seasons under his belt. And that second full season, he really faltered down the stretch. So there's still some question marks there. The bullpen definitely is going to be my biggest concern going into the season. I mean, the team's got multiple holes. Obviously, you lost 100 games. You're going to have a lot of holes. But this bullpen to me is by far the biggest hole, by far the biggest question mark going into the year. And like I said, I think the starting rotation by June or July, if guys stay healthy and a couple prospects pan out, could be pretty solid. But if your bullpen
Uh-huh.
is like it was last year, what's the matter? If you can't trust hand your bullpen to lead in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning, ultimately your starting rotation being that good is not going to win you that many baseball games.
We're talking to Marty Lee from Run Bunter. Marty, we have a couple comments here. Nutting is a POS, and all he cares about is promoting the park and special rewards you can get when you go. And the Pirates have been stuck for around 30 years because Nutting and his ownership group seem to think PNC Park is a priority. Well, I seen him sell some ski resorts, Marty, and he didn't put no money into the Pirates when he sold them ski resorts. So I don't think he's going to put any more money than what he is into the What's your thoughts this year? Do you think they may have a chance of maybe creeping up into fifth or fourth place this year? And then everyone's saying 2024 is going to be the year. Is that the case?
Well, I mean, for this year, I definitely think they're better than the Reds. I thought coming into the offseason they were better than the Cubs, but the Cubs have been pretty aggressive this offseason. I still wouldn't rule them out being able to maybe creep up to third place. I mean, I'm not sure. Milwaukee's got some really good pitching, but they haven't done a whole lot this offseason, and they just traded away Willie Adames, so there's definitely a lot of question marks there. Um, I mean, I think this is going to be a 90-loss team. Now, I think they can make a lot of strides from last year and still lose 90 games. I mean, that's the case when you lose 100 because you could have a 10-game improvement and still
Right.
win 90. I think what's most important for this year is it's going to be these young guys because if you go 72 and 90, but that's a 72 and 90 where at the end of the year, you're like, all right, Rollins and Contreras took a step forward. Quinn Priester and Mike Burrows really came along in this rotation. O'Neal Cruz took what he did in the last 6 weeks last year and did it in a full season. If those sorts of things happen, you can, I mean, look back to the last playoff run. Look at the 2012 team that finished under 500. You came out of that season still feeling good and say, hey, you know what? You can see this building up. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. If you can get the end of the season and be in that position, I think overall you've got to feel all right. I do think in 2024 they could be positioned to take a big jump. Now they're going to have to add to this core and not just bank on from what they've got in the minor leagues. But they're in a position to be able to improve this year, take some steps forward. But it's going to be up to their ability to develop guys because they have a lot of top prospects in the upper minors. We mentioned the pitchers: Henry Davis, Andy Rodriguez, Nick Gonzalez, Livero Peguero, a lot of guys who could graduate this year, and even half those guys pan out. Your roster is going to be substantially better by the end of the year than at the start of the year, but that's up to the Pirates to develop those guys properly.
Marty, thank you for being part of the program. You can promote yourself here. You're with Rum Bunter. What does Rum Bunter do?
Yeah, rumbunter.com. We're through the Fan-Sided Network. We have our website, obviously. Follow us on Twitter at Rumbunter, at Facebook, on Facebook at Rumbunter. We have a Rumbunter podcast that off-season we'll normally do an episode about once every week to two, in season every week. Actually, we just had a new episode drop today. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Music, Omni, all that good stuff. So, yeah, feel free to go and check us out and, comment on it. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us we're stupid, whatever it is. As long as you're reading it, the way I look at it, we're doing all right. So,
Marty, thank you very much. I want to wish you a happy Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Smokin, Jimmy, have anything to add?
No.
All right, great. Marty, thank you once again. We'll talk with you next year. And thanks again for coming on. Have a great night.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, that was Marty Leap from Rum Bunter. And I'm Ralph Williams, along with Smokin Jimfrazier. And we have our next guest coming up around 9 o'clock, Jerry DIPAOLA from the Trib Live. He's going to come on and talk about the Pitt Panther football team, the end of the season, what happened to this team with this 8-4, and some other stuff. Smokin Jim, I understand you had some kind of a banquet or luncheon today or something, and some teams didn't bother to show up. What was that all about?
Yeah, we honored the all the WPAL champions, and we are going to honor the Westinghouse Bulldogs on their great season.
Mm-hmm.
The Pittsburgh Steelers sent out Mason Cole, the starting offensive center. He was our keynote speaker for the Pennsylvania State Hall of Fame monthly luncheon. A lot of great coaches. Churpeck from TJ was there. Pine Ridgeland's football team was there. Seneca Valley was there. Union was there. Even though Seneca Valley didn't win at all, they were there. Still Valley was there. So it was a great time. Bell Burnham was there. They're WPIL champ. So
yeah.
We had one of the top recruiters for the University of Pittsburgh there. We had 10 different recruiters and scouts from 10 different colleges, including a smaller college in Dartmouth. So there's some guys getting really getting some Division I looks this year.
What do you think of the 10 schools that were there? Which one do you think benefited the most that you could tell?
I think the one that benefited most was the University of Pittsburgh, because they don't recruit in southwestern Pennsylvania. So now they'll take advantage of all this talent that we have here. In southwestern Pennsylvania, there should be no reason why Pitt can't lock up some of these guys. They all would like to go to Pitt. They would like to stay home and play in front of their family and friends. And it's a shame that they don't have an opportunity to be recruited by Pitt.
I wanted to talk with you tonight, and I'm going to send my condolences to the family of Mike Leach. He was the head coach at Mississippi State. He had a massive heart attack, and he's passed away today. And I want to send my condolences and prayers out to his family. Mike Leach was a coach of the head coach of Washington State for a little while. He also was at UCF real briefly, and then he ended up at Mississippi State. Smokin' Jim, what's your thoughts on Mike Leach?
An offensive genius, a legend.
Mm-hmm.
What do you used to call his offense? The red something, man. And them boys scored points in bunches. Mm-hmm. He was one of the guys that changed the way college football is played. It shocked me that he passed away at only 61. But hey, when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. Nothing we can do about that, man. I was hoping he would recover from it, but massive heart attack. He left his mark on the world and in college football. And Deion Sanders is probably in Colorado right now, thinking that maybe he should have held out a week. He probably could have had that Mississippi State job. That's really, Leach put that program in a real good situation for the next coach to come in and win.
Okay, Smokin' Jim, we have our next guest coming on, Jerry DIPAOLA. All right, let's see here. We got Jerry in the waiting room. There, Jerry.
Can you hear me, gentlemen?
Jerry?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, good. I can hear you too. Hi, Smokin' Jim. How you doing?
Yeah, Jerry says hello, Smokin' Jim. Can you hear him?
I for some reason I can't hear Jerry, but hey, Jerry, great to have you back on, sir.
He says thanks for coming back. He goes, he heard you. He got the thumbs up. Okay, Jerry, welcome to the program once again. It's great to have you on here as always to talk about Pitt football. You bring it right down to the point. That's why I like when you come on. All right, we talked about before why in the world did they lose to Louisville in a bye week. Now we're here. The end of the season is here. What happened to Keaton Slovis? Why did he leave? What's the problem? Is it between him and Cignetti? There were some stories about that. Couldn't get along with Narduzzi. With the offense wasn't for him. What was the problem? We have a little technical issue here with Jerry's coming.
No, he was brought out to. Can you hear me? My instruments have gone out. Can you hear me though? Now we're back.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me, Ralph? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you, Jerry. Go ahead. Did you hear my question?
Yes, I did. He was brought in from the transfer portal before Pitt hired Frank Cignetti. That's not going to be the problem with Phil Jurkovec, who they brought in from Boston College. Jurkovec and Cignetti, of course, worked together at Boston College. They became, really good partners, very good friends, and they worked well together. And had a little bit in Slovis. Slovis's problem, I think, goes all the way back to the Tennessee game when he was sacked at the end of the first half and suffered a concussion.
Right.
It brings to mind the famous quote from Pat Narduzzi when I asked him about that going for it at the end of the first quarter, when end of the first half, when there were only 21 seconds left in the half, and trying to so it was.
I apologize. Everyone seems like we're having a little issue here with Jerry. I can hear him,
but I keep going in and out. I was talking about the Tennessee game. Did you hear that?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you can't hear me now?
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. Now, I was just saying that he got sacked in that Tennessee game and suffered a concussion, and really wasn't the same for several weeks after that. He missed the next game against Western Michigan. It wasn't good mix. Between him and his receivers, he never got a good connection with the tight end, Gavin Bartholomew. Between him and Signetti, he was a good kid. He worked hard. He has a good arm, but his concussion held him back. And I think Pitt really believed, and I think they've done a big upgrade at the quarterback position between Jurkovec and Slovis. I think Jurkovec, is big and powerful and has a good, strong arm. He had a great season in 2020. He's had some injury issues at Boston College the last 2 years, as a matter of fact. That maybe that raises a red flag, but or maybe they're just coincidence injuries and they don't really amount to much. But sometimes a player can't help that he gets hurt, right? It's not that he's injury prone. Sometimes things happen.
Right, exactly.
Kenny Pickett on Sunday, he can't help it if the guy throws him around like a rag doll, So
right. I hear you, Jerry. Okay.
I hear you.
My next question to you is:
I was waiting for you. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. What? The bowl game here coming up in the Sun Bowl on December 30th. This matchup against UCLA. It don't look good. Do you think Nick Patty has a chance?
I think Nick Patty will start at quarterback. Slovis is gone, obviously, and I think they want to give Nick another opportunity. I feel bad for Nick because he got hurt in the first quarter of the Peach Bowl last year and didn't get a chance to finish it, and really didn't get much of a chance to play this past season, except for the Tennessee game when Slovis got hurt, and he played the fourth quarter in overtime on a bum ankle. So I think Patty. I haven't heard this for sure, but I'm guessing Patty will be the quarterback against UCLA in the Sun Bowl, and we'll see what he can do. Now Pitt's going to be, it looks like there's been a lot of opt-outs. No, not at Pitt so far, but other places. Some of the top players in all the colleges, other programs are deciding to give up. They're not playing the bowl game, either declare for the NFL draft or transfer. And and who knows what these guys are going to do? They haven't said yet, but I think these days opt-outs are a big part of the bowl season, especially for the bowls below the two semifinal games. Sometimes these guys figure they're better off staying home, being safe, don't get hurt, get themselves ready for workouts and for the NFL Combine in March.
Yeah, I remember when Pitt turned that bowl game down a few years back. They didn't want to go to it. They were 6-5. It was a disappointing season.
That was a COVID year.
They were expected to do a little bit better.
That was a COVID year. I think COVID had a lot to do with them giving up the bowl game that year. They're right. They're only 6-5. They did qualify for a bowl, but at that point, they only played 11 games. They had one game canceled. Games were moved around. It was a crazy season. A lot of players missed a lot of games that year because of COVID, and then I think they turned on the bowl strictly for COVID reasons, nothing else.
I got to give it to Pitt staff a little bit. They had some recruits decommit, and then they just got some more recruits, and they're getting some transfers. Do you think that they can go into the junior college transfers like Smokin Jim has indicated? Try to get some junior college players and try to get every player they can get from every which direction to try to help this team. Is that what they're looking at?
These days, I think you try to uncover as many rocks as you can to try to find good football players. Carter Johnson, their backup tight end, came from a junior college, I believe, from My memory's correct. He had a pretty decent season as a backup tight end this year. I think Pitt will go for the junior college route, to go for the Power 5 route and the NCAA transfer portal, and look for guys that can help them. These days, Ralph and Smokin' Jim, recruiting out of the transfer portal is way more important than recruiting out of high school, because you get a guy from the transfer portal, he can help you right away. He's a veteran guy, usually a guy who's been seasoned a little bit in another school, compared to a high school kid who's never played college football before, and you don't know what you got with him maybe for a couple of years. But a guy out of the portal can help you right away. And that pass, Shane Simon and Tyler Wiltz, the two linebackers who were transfers, they played right away and played well this year. A freshman linebacker doesn't step in. A freshman linebacker doesn't step in and play like that, like a guy who's been in college can do. And then that's what you do these days, college coaches. You go and you find guys from experienced guys from transfer portal, and they can help you right away rather than waiting a year or two for a high school kid to pan out.
That Savossier, Dennis, and Izzy are going to move on to the NFL, or do you think they might stay one more year?
Well, I think Izzy will. I haven't heard anything official. I'm just surmising. I'm just guessing. But running backs have a short shelf life, and you want to take as few hits as you can for free before you start earning a paycheck from the NFL. And I think Izzy is ready for the NFL. I think he's a nice, big, strong back with a lot of good breakaway speed. I think he'll be a decent draft pick, given not a first-round pick, maybe a first-day or a second-day pick. And Savossier Dennis really hasn't shown his cards yet. And maybe he will in the next few days or in the next week or whatever. But I think he'll be a good pro too. He'll be not a first-round pick, but a draft pick for sure. And maybe these guys, they see, well, I'm not going to be a first-round pick. I'm not going to make a whole lot of money right away. Maybe I'll go back to college, try to sharpen up my game, get bigger, stronger, faster, wiser. And like Kenny Pickett did. Kenny Pickett would have been a fifth-round pick if he came out in 2021. He comes out in 2022, and he's a first-round pick, and now he's starting for the Steelers. So those things, these guys have to consider those things. I think they will, and maybe some guys will stay because of it.
What's Pitt's? I know they have to fix up their offensive line after this season, after this bowl game's over. Everybody practically on the offensive line is a 5th or 6th year senior. Do you think how are they going to do this? One of the more important lines of scrimmage, they're going to have to fix this up. Are they really looking into the transfer portal and junior college to try to do this, or do they have something within?
Well, Matt Gonsalves played a lot, and he has eligibility left. He can play either left tackle or right tackle. I think Jake Cradle can come back. Jake Cradle, the kid from Butler, moved between center and guard last season. I think if he comes back, he could be the starting center next year. He played every snap of every game this year, as far as I can tell. Of course, Carter Warren's moving on. I think Marcus Minor's moving on. Owen Drexel might be moving on. But I think they'll go into the portal. He turned out to be a pretty good left guard and all ACC left guard, as a matter of fact. So I think more than the junior college route, they'll go into the major college route and find guys who can help them right away. But they also have some guys they like. I mentioned Gonsalves and Ryan Baer played a little bit last year. I think that they don't have 5 returning starters coming, 5 starters returning coming back, but they do have some talent on that line. But they do need to supplement it with transfer portal guys.
What's the men's basketball team's looking pretty good? They're on a little bit of a winning streak. What do you think they're going to do this year?
I'm sorry, I missed that question, Ralph. Can you repeat it?
Yeah, what's your thoughts on the men's basketball team this year for Pitt? What's your take on them? Do you think they're going to do okay?
They're 75 points per game. They're shooting a 3-point shot like I've never seen a team hit the 3-point shot before. Nellie Cummings, another transfer from Colgate's, done a great job. Point guard Blake Hinson and Greg Elliott are aggressive guys who can either go to the hoop, especially with Hinson, or hit the 3-point shot. I think Pitt, is going to have a better season they've had, the best season they've had under Jeff Capel. I really believe they're going to be decent this year. I am not going to predict them to win the ACC. I'm not going to predict them to go to the NCAA tournament, but I think they can win more games than they won last year. And we'll see in the next couple of weeks. As a matter of fact, they got Syracuse on the road next week. I believe it's Tuesday. And then they got North Carolina at home, actually December 30th, the same day as the football bowl game. Basketball tips off at noon at the Pete against North Carolina. Football game's on at 2:00, so it's a big day for Pitt on the 30th. So when they play Syracuse and North Carolina, and they've already beaten NC State, so they've already done a pretty good job as far as getting themselves set up to maybe win 15 or 16 games this year. So we'll see. But they're aggressive. They go to the hoop hard. But they got to get John Hughley a little bit more into things. John missed 6 weeks of preseason practice, missed the first 3 games of the season with a knee injury. Just hasn't been himself lately. And Hughley, of course, was their best player last year. If they can get him going like he went last year, they'll have a good inside-outside game. And they do like this Federico, the big 6'11" sophomore with the huge wingspan. He did a good job the other day against Sacred Heart. So, yeah, they're going to have a better season they had last year, and I hope it's good enough to save Jeff Capel's job.
Is Dior Johnson coming back, or is he off the team completely? I know he had some legal issues, and whatnot. Is he coming back, or what's going on with him?
Well, as we speak today, Ralph and Smokin' Jim, he's still suspended. He was charged in court on Friday with 2. He was put on suspension by the university, and now he's on probation for his domestic altercation with a girl, with a woman. And Pitt has not said what's going to happen with him. I think what they're going to do with Dior Johnson is let him sit for a while, let him know that what he did is not acceptable. And even though he's not going to jail or anything like that, he's on probation. I think it's something they want to set an example for the guy. Just don't let him back on the team right away. Okay, you were charged with this crime, and all you got to do is serve probation. That's fine, but we're not going to put you in the team right away like nothing happened. I think you're going to let him sit for a while. It's a long season. You got the rest of December and the first 2 months of the year. A lot of games left in the year. 20 or so games left. So I think eventually you'll see
All right, Jerry DiPaola from the Trib Live. It's great to have you on the show once again, Jerry. Thank you. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll talk with you next year. Smokin' Jimmy, have anything to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Jerry one question before he left.
Yes, sir.
I heard maybe had the interview for some reason. His voice wasn't coming through on my phone, but Pitt has won 8 games this year. Last year they won 11. If they beat UCLA, it would be the first time since 1981 that they won 20 games in back-to-back seasons. How important do you think that is, Jerry? And that was Dan Marino's junior year, so this would be a huge win to get up to 20 games in two seasons.
Well, it's a big number. It's something like you said, it hasn't happened at Pitt in about 40 years. So, yeah, if they were able to win 20 games in 2 seasons, that'll be very important. And I tell you what, 9-4, if they beat UCLA, sounds much better than 8-5. I know it's only 1 game, but it just has a better ring to it. You know what I mean? And I think these kids want to go out on a strong note. I just feel that they're playing, a really good UCLA team with a lot of offensive firepower. I think they were 3rd in the nation in total offense. And if Elijah Cansey doesn't play, if Izzy Abanikanda doesn't play, they've already lost their quarterback. If I were a betting man, and I'm not a betting man, I would put my money on UCLA. I'm sorry. But it would be a big win, especially if they go into the game without some of their stars and they're able to pull it out. I think they will. It'll be something worth writing about. That's for sure. But I think UCLA is going to beat them. But hey, we'll see what happens. That's why they played the game, right?
Oh yeah, Jerry. Once again, thank you for being part of the show. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We'll see you next year. Talk with you then in regards to some more of the after the Pitt Bowl game. and what's in store for this season. We'll go over the schedule for 2023. I already looked at it, but we'll talk about it next year. Thanks once again for coming on, Jerry. It was great having you on. Smokin', Jim, you have any more to add?
Thanks a lot, Jerry. We appreciate you, buddy.
My pleasure, Smokin' Jim. My pleasure, Ralph. You guys have a happy holiday.
You too. Thank you. That was Jerry from the Trib Live, and it was great to have him on because he has to talk about, including Pitt athletics, and so it was great to hear him break down everything about what happened with Pitt football this year, and also talk about the basketball team a little bit as well. All right, Smokin' Jim, it's our time to get to the Steelers. What's your thoughts on this game this past week? It was a close one, 16-14. All of every part of the team messed up this week. Special teams, defense was terrible, stopping the run, and the offense and Trubisky with 3 interceptions, and then Dotson coming out again, apologizing because Pickett got hurt again. What's your thoughts on this, Smokin' Jim?
Well, I tell you what, I was actually proud of the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was a team that didn't quit. Listen, the Pittsburgh Steelers are poorly coached. The special teams coach is a joke. Bubblegum chewing guy. Listen, you know that the guy that's blocked more field goals than anybody in NFL history is sitting there. You allow him, after practicing all week, to block a field goal to win a football game with you. They drafted a punter that kicked a 17-yard. Anytime you need him to do something good, you'll either shank it, kick it out the end zone, or kick a 17-yarder, but it almost bounced all the way back to him. Listen, Trubisky tried to be aggressive. I give him that. He threw some nice passes. But anytime you get George Pickens one-on-one on the outside, nobody could cover him. The Ravens was begging you to go to George Pickens. He could have had a career day. You got 3 defensive coordinators on your coaching staff. You have the highest paid defense in the NFL. You got a crippled running back
A crippled running back.
Yeah. And you let the guy run all over you. You let the Ravens run all over you. They put a 3rd-string quarterback in that didn't even know how to buckle his chin strap right.
Man.
Didn't get to him at all. Didn't rattle him at all. Come on, that was a game that should have been won. The players played their hearts out, but they needed some better coaching, and they didn't get it.
No, not at all. And I got to tell you what, this coaching staff is embarrassing, and to me, it's unacceptable. There's been a debate about Matt Canada coming back. Will he be back next year? Paul Zeiss from the Post-Gazette 93.7 The Fan keeps tweeting that he thinks Matt Canada will be back next year. I don't think he will. I've talked to some people I know, and they told me they don't think he'll be back. Tomlin's just waiting until the end of the season, and I believe he'll fire Matt Canada. And he might fire some other coaches too, and I don't know what's going to happen with Brian Flores. Maybe he'll get a coaching job or a coordinator's job somewhere other than the Steelers, because all he does is sit and rot up in the press box. I don't understand about that either, Smokin' Jim. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, Miami Dolphins ain't missed a beat.
Yeah, there you go.
The most improved football team in the National Football League.
Yeah.
Listen, a lot of these guys have a reputation of being a great coach because it was with Belichick. Flores never impressed me with his coaching ability. You got to be able to relate to players, and you can't do that.
Absolutely.
He show a little enthusiasm first preseason game when he was on the sideline. He shows some enthusiasm for the first time in his life. Now he sits up in the press box. He must be eating popcorn because he's clearly not doing anything. Coach Tomlin's not doing anything.
Right.
And I think Terrell Austin is in over his head. And like I said, again, all the time is about getting rid of the offensive coordinator. But if you get rid of the offensive coordinator because you allowed him to pick the entire
Offensive staff, yeah. Right.
And I don't see that happening.
No, so you're saying you don't think they're going to fire Matt Canada?
I've been the first one that said it. If Paul likes to saying it now, and he's saying it weeks after I said it back when the Steelers was in a horrible shape. I said there's no way with Kenny Pickett having one of the lowest Wonderlic tests of any quarterback in the history of the National Football League. You're not going to bring another coordinator in here for him to try to learn another offense. The only one that I would have an outside chance of bringing in is Mark Whipple. But Coach Tomlin already fired him once.
I don't think he'll bring him back either, Smokin' Jim, because then he has to run it. He has to see Pat Narduzzi in the same building, and Pat Narduzzi and him didn't get along. So I mean, oh my! I think it's time for Mark Whipple to retire. He's 65 years old. It's time for him to, I think, step down a little bit. I don't know. He took a.
The whole thing is, Mark. I mean, the whole thing is, bro. I cannot believe somebody with your credentials is not at Coach Tomlin's press conference. There's no way that you would be there week in and week out and not challenge Coach Tomlin and his defensive staff.
It's a joke.
On the reason why all that talent on defense and they can't stop the run, and the next 4 teams they play all can run the football.
It's
not a joke. Coach Tomlin has deflected the blame off of him all season long, and nobody with any balls in the media challenge.
I would do it. I would do it tomorrow. If I could get into the press conferences, I think you have to sign up now. When I was at Three River State, when they were at Three River Stadium, you just walked in and I showed my ID, and they were like, "Well, where are you from?" And I told them, and they were like, "Go ahead." But now I think it's more controlled. I'm not sure. I have to figure. I haven't been down there since they built the new building for a press conference. Hoops. Yeah. Yeah. So I wish I could go, because you know me, I would ask every tough question there is, and I wouldn't let him dance all over me, because I'm going to tell you what, he does it with this group now. I mean, he just sits there and laughs at him, and he stands there and he just, he thinks it's funny, and it's embarrassing that he actually takes over the whole room. And and everybody that answers the same or asks him the same stupid questions, they continue to get embarrassed. And I sit there and I watch it on YouTube, and I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Well, I'll tell you what. Let's take some of his things today from the press conference. AFC North ball. I love AFC North ball. All right, the next one is day to day for concussion protocol. Day to day. Again, and he repeats himself every week because everybody asks us the same dumb questions every week. And he goes, day-to-day concussion protocol. Once again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a football coach. So, there you are there. And don't forget, participation will be our guy. But he didn't say that today. So, we have to work. We have a lot of work to do. Get this. Really, coach, you have a lot of work to do. Oh, my gosh. No, Jim. No, Smokin' Jim. We don't have a lot of work to do. No, we don't. Oh, no way. It's real easy out there, man. And then he goes, and he always says, man. Man. Even when, man. Okay, man. Even when a woman, reporter says something, he'll go, okay, man. Man. All right, here's another one from today. Physical work ahead of us. What physical work? Your lines of scrimmages are brutal, right, Smokin' Jim? What physical work are you talking about? Then he goes, well, no room for arrogance. Well, look at yourself. Look at yourself. Tell me that's not. Oh my gosh. Then he says, each week we play with players that we have available. Really? Oh yeah, we know that already. And then he really dodged the question about the quarterback situation. He was like, "Well, we don't know yet about what's going on with Kenny Pickett. Again, he's in concussion protocol. That's all I can tell you. I don't know anything more." Okay, let me ask you this: you're a head coach, Smokin' Jim. Don't you think you would want to know more about your starting quarterback? Don't you think it makes I understand the standard is the standard. Okay, but when the standard is the standard, that the next player steps up, and you keep saying, "Well, we're going to play with the players that we have available." Yeah, you have players available, but none of them are worth a darn in some cases. And then you're scrambling about, well, Mason Rudolph really hasn't played much. Well, no kidding, because he was inactive every game. Okay, all right. So come on, coach. Tell me something different. Tell me something else. Tell me you're going to do something. Tell me you're going to try to do something to whip a team instead of being always in the trenches with them, like in a dogfight or something. Tell me something else. You tell us the same thing every week, and then the same questions from the media every week. And and then he stands there and he laughs at him, and I'm like, you wouldn't laugh at me like that, because I'll tell you what, you laugh at me, we're going to have a problem. You know what I mean? Because I'll ask tough questions, and if you don't like the tough questions, that's too bad. You know what I mean? That's really too bad. Here. That's what I think of that. There you go. Here, I'll do it again. Ready? Here it goes. That's what I think of that. So, all right. I think we had enough of Steeler talk here. Let's get into some high school football. You do know Westinghouse lost to Southern Columbia 37-22. Were you at the game? Well, I know Luther was. There's some things going around. The mayor was there, Mayor Gainey, that there's some racist stuff was going on. I'm going to talk about that Monday a little bit more on the way I see it. This is ridiculous. This is this is unacceptable. Racist behavior by Southern Columbia. I had a weird feeling where they were going, Smokin' Jim, that something like this was going to happen even before they got on the bus. I said to myself, you know what? Something's going to be wrong with this, and I was right. And it can't. You know what? For some strange reason, I don't have a crystal ball, Smokin' Jim, but for some strange reason, I seem to be on my game as far as predicting some of this stuff, and I was right. Here we have it again. Racial slurs being thrown around. What do you think about this?
I'll tell you what, I think Westinghouse had a great season. I think
yes.
For the entire season, did a good job. I think I could have helped them win the state championship. This is the only game I could have helped them. I played on a team like Southern Columbia. Southern Columbia is a 5-time state championship team that don't throw the football. And that's Pete Anna Marina football right there. What you do, how you beat a team like that, is you get up on them, because they're not going to throw the football. They have 6, 7, 8, 9-minute drive that does not end in a touchdown or a score. They're going to eat the clock up, and they're going to wear you down in the second half. You're going to be so exhausted you can't stop them.
Right.
House was up by a touchdown in the first quarter. They had the ball on their own 20-yard line and went for it on 4th down. That's not how you beat a team like that.
No.
You punt the football, you make big plays, you score. Westinghouse with just speed could have been up maybe a touchdown, maybe by halftime by 2 touchdowns,
right,
maybe 3 touchdowns, and then just could have held on to win the game, because the team was just going to wear you down in the second half with that running game. But hey, it was a great season, man. The coach took a chance.
Yes, he did.
Baltimore Ravens did the same thing. They took a chance in the first quarter against the Steelers and went for it on 4th down and made it. So you can't knock how a coach is aggressive. But like I said, I grew up in that system, that Southern Columbia plays. Coach Pete Anna Marino, their stadium's named after him. First WPIL history to make it in WPIL Hall of Fame. So I understand the way to beat that kind of a team. And Westinghouse had the team that could have beat them, because they're a big play team that scores quickly. But like I said, you can't replay the game. And you got to take your hat off to Southern Columbia for winning their 6th straight championship.
Pine Richland 28. Who'd they play? Inthrop Charter Academy 14. What's your Pine Richland first year coach John Ladon? What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I talked to him today. He pulled the deal on Sanders when he was at the Hills. The guy couldn't coach his way out of a paper bag at Shaler.
I know. I remember that. Yes.
He gets the job at Penn Hills, and they had so much talent. They won the WPIL championship. He backstabbed everybody at Penn Hills and left and went to the hazing academy of Pine Richland. And the guy that has all the talent in the world, so he landed on his feet. But I was able to talk to him today. He was at our luncheon. He's originally from Aliquippa. And, he right now, I tell you what, man, he may go down in history. And, he continues to coach as one of the all-time winning coaches in WPIL history. All he has to do is do like the guy did at Central Catholic and just stay there his entire career until he retires.
Yeah, Terry Toten has retired. So Terry was a great coach at Central Catholic. I don't know who's going to. Yeah, Art Walker Sr. put him on the map, and then Junior, and then it was Terry Toten. Terry Toten just continued on what the Walkers did. Yes, I remember all three of it. Yeah, I remember how it all came about. Because Art Walker Sr., he was coaching at Shady Side Academy, and then they had him and his son went to Central Catholic. And then that's when that all got started. Central Shady Side Academy won all kinds of games when the Walkers were there. And oh, yeah. Yeah.
I played against Art Walker Sr. He was my Lebanon's coach, so nothing but respect.
Right.
He learned it from the best. His dad was one of the best ever in WPIL.
Absolutely. All right, next, it was Bell Vernon. They won 9-8. Wow, what a score to win by, 9-8. What's your thoughts on that one? They beat, I think it's pronounced Newman Goretti or something. That's who they played.
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I was surprised. I didn't follow Bell Vernon that closely this year. I was following Laurel Highlands with Rodney Gallagher and his NIL high school deal. He's
Yeah.
more money than his dad right now, but Bell Vernon, man, the Leopards, they had a good season. I believe they was undefeated. They were at my luncheon today, and class guys, man. I was happy for them.
Well, that's great. It was good that luncheon was great for you, and it's great that you have it. And it was great to see Pitt get into some recruiting there. It was sad that Westinghouse and Aliquippa didn't show up. I think that's the classless. They should have been there. Like you said, you miss an opportunity. It's like if you don't go to a job fair and you're interested in looking for a job, you don't show up at a job fair for at least the interview for the job. You might as well forget it. You know what I mean? So.
What was sad that Westinghouse was there.
I know.
I ain't giving Aliquippa no pass, man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
They walked around here like they were the greatest team in the state of Pennsylvania history.
Right.
They talked about it for 2 years. They won it all last year. They had everybody back this year.
Mm-hmm.
And Bishop McDevitt shoved it right down their throat. They can't take it. You
Oh,
know what I mean? It's
yeah.
just like Clareton High School. They won 5 straight state championships. They lose a state championship the next year. They want to fight everybody. You win with class, you lose with class. If you're going to accept all the pat on the backs and all the hugs and all the TV interviews and all the ESPN national exposure, then be man enough to stand up and give your word and show up after a loss and show a little class and character. Like I said, I'm not going to blame Westinghouse. It was their first year.
Right.
What was the winningest team in WPIL?
Absolutely.
They got more WPIL championships than anybody, even McGee's sport. And you got to win like a champion and learn how to lose like a champion too.
Oh yeah. All right. Let's talk about the Penguins a little bit, Smokin' Jim, before we wrap it up. The record 17-8-4. Wow, what a winning streak they have going on, Smokin' Jim. They're really on top of the world here. Kaspersen's been getting involved. Malkin, Letang is back after only 12 days from the stroke. What do you think about this?
I tell you what, man, I'm proud of my Penguins. I'm wearing the Penguin hat right now, and I wore it on the Elevate Talking Cheese show.
Yeah, yeah, I saw it.
I tell you what, I'm proud of those guys, man. You know what I mean? Everybody lifting for dead. I told you, I think I was the only one that said it. I said, hey, man, old Letang. Everybody know about his stroke, man. Something about that guy, man. He ain't cut from the same cloth as everybody else, man. Anybody else would have retired after the first stroke.
Oh, yeah.
He comes back.
Yeah, 17. Yeah, that guy.
I'll tell you what, if one of your players have a stroke, not one, but two strokes, and they're out there practicing, tell me that don't get everybody else on the team. They ain't got no excuse but to go hard, man. This guy's out there willing to lay his life on the line for this team, man. And hey, they got a chance to break the curse.
Yeah. The Fleury curse, yeah. Ever since Fleury left, man, they haven't done anything as far as that goes. You're right. But anyway, they're second place in the Metropolitan Division. They play Florida on Thursday, 7 p.m. in Florida. I tell you what, I got to give it to Kaspersen, man. Ever since he was benched and a healthy scratch, he's come back with a vengeance. And that's good because, like I said, we gave a #1 draft pick up for him last couple of years. He's done nothing. Finally, he's starting to do something. I'm proud of Letang. I mean, I thought after this stroke, he might call it quits and the Pens would have to eat his money. But here we are. He's back and he's fighting. He's in the game. And that's good to see from this man as well. Smokin' Jim, it's time to wrap it up. It was great having you on tonight. As always, our guests, Marty Leap and Jerry DiPaola as well. This is Sports Corner, and we're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and now Twitter. Also, we're here every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Don't forget tomorrow night. Smokin' Jim, you said what, 7:45?
Yes, sir.
All right, 7:45 tomorrow night because Smokin' Jim has an obligation, so we'll be on at 7:45 tomorrow night for Talking Wrestling. Lots of talk about rumor of Vince McMahon coming back. Asuka getting ready to change character. She's been depressed about some things. I got a lot to talk. We always have a lot to talk about tomorrow night on Talking Wrestling. So don't forget to tune in live right here, Facebook.
Hey, Ralph,
yeah.
Ralph, can I say one thing before you go?
Go ahead.
Not only do you have the best show anywhere on the planet, but you get some of the best guests anywhere, man. I gotta take my hat off.
Oh, thank you.
The guests that you book, man, is unbelievable.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we're going to have 2 more great guests on. I'm going to try to get 2 great guests on every week. And it was nice to get the insights on the Pirates by Marty Leap because you know me, I was calling Ben Cherington a liar because 2 weeks ago he said, and you heard what Marty Leap said. As soon as they start signing all these players and the money was starting to get dry, that's when they started doing 1-year contracts. So, here we are. And that's why they went to the 1-year call. Oh, by the way, I took a look at the Penguins schedule this year, and there's only maybe one game I might go to. They have a bucket hat giveaway going on sometime in May. I might go to that game just to get a free bucket hat. Everything else is fireworks. They have some concerts at PNC Park this year. They're going to get a new scoreboard like the guy that commented earlier tonight about the improvements at PNC Park. They're also, don't forget, Smokin' Jim, they're putting up new windows in the bathrooms. You know why? So you can pee and see. Oh, you know what, though? You have to laugh about the Pirates, but it's hilarious the jokes people tell. It's so funny. Especially that divorce court joke I like to tell all the time. But, Smokin' Jim, thank you once again. It's always a great pleasure to have you on the show here. Thank you for the compliment. We're going to try to round up a couple more guests for next week, man. I got a list. I'm ready to go. So we're going to line them up for next week and get them here. We have them every week here on YouTube's Facebook, Twitch, and now we're on Twitter. Yes, we are. And we have breaking news coming up in January, some changes in where we're going and what we're doing. But that's coming up in January. So make sure you're here watching Sports Corner every Tuesday night at 8:30, because be here and be square. Other than that, I am Ralph Williams. This is Smokin' Jimfrazier. You have a great night, and talk to you next week. Have a good one. Thank you. Be safe. Still there, Smokin' Jim?